YouTube, hello, welcome, welcome. Today is going to be an exciting stream, but I do think it is going to be a slower paced one, just because I am sick. But welcome everyone, I'm Ellie. I am hosting streams of collective consciousness, and this stream is all about sustainable fashion, environmentalism, and pulp culture. So I have a couple of things that I do want to talk about. Hence, I have this little Canva link set up so that we can take a look at it. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we will be looking at, such as the Stella McCartney collaboration with H&M, which is just weird. Why are they collaborating again with H&M? And then we're talking about Shein and the France legal drama. We really need Shein to freaking leave. This. I don't know what Shein is doing, but we need Shein to just go away. And they're so insistent in being in France. Even though France has been like, no, we don't want you. Okay. And then we're going to get into the details of this. But before we go on tangents, a couple of brands have been banned, and fur has been banned from New York Fashion Week. So those are things that we're going to break down a bit more. But yeah, that's kind of the first bulk of the stream, and then there's more news. I do want to pull up my YouTube to see if the audio is working. So bear with me for a couple seconds. It is a Friday. So we're going to break down a bit more. Oh my god, I do sound sick. Okay. I sound sick. I sound legit congested, and I am. Ew. Okay. So yeah. So the way that I usually start to stream, I've forgotten how to stream, to be honest. I haven't done this in a while. I think the last time I streamed was a week ago or so. It's been more than 7 days. But basically, my official schedule is every Wednesday from 4:30 to 7:30. It's just that this week I was sick and I just could not do anything this Wednesday. I was not feeling good. But typically we start off slowly getting an intro in, and then I first touch on sustainable fashion, and then I get into environmentalism and any interesting pop culture stuff, and then any other fun takeaways I do at the end. But yeah, going forward, it's most likely just going to be Wednesday from 4:30 to 7:30, and I will try to stick to that. It's just I was sick and I couldn't muster the energy. I could barely talk. But honestly, I think my voice sounds worse today than it did on Wednesday. I've just gotten progressively worse. I think that's because of my hectic schedule that doesn't allow me to rest. So it's been unfortunate, but there is really no workaround on it. One of the biggest things I like to tell people is when people pressure you to work harder, sometimes it just breaks the machine down. So I've been working really hard, and just circumstances broke the machine sooner than expected. But honestly, I feel like that's part of systemic oppression. It's the low income, BIPOC people that barely are surviving always get hit with the most random thing because they're always front in line to a lot of issues. So the way I got sick was working retail, and my coworker has COVID, which honestly I feel like it should be illegal to go to work if you have COVID. If you know you have COVID, you shouldn't be going to work, and I think it's the responsibility of the managers and the owners to have you rest. But the shop that I work at is just run by 20-year-olds who just kind of don't really take up a lot of responsibility and sense of ethics in their practices. So for them, it was totally okay to have a coworker come in and work with COVID for the entire week, and he just basically covered the entire store in his bacteria. So I got sick. I haven't been tested. I haven't gone to be tested for COVID, but I may have it. I thought I didn't have it because I recovered really well on Sunday after I was exposed to it on Saturday. And then just the following week has just been a spiral downwards of like feeling really out of it. And it's escalated slowly where it was like a cough here, a runny nose there, feeling kind of like I had a headache one day, and then it would come back and it would leave. So it was like my body was battling it, but I think it's just with the stress that I carry, my immune system is very delicate, so it just got progressively worse. So that's why I couldn't stream Wednesday, and it was a very busy week to stream because there was the streamer awards, there was the gamer awards. There was a lot of awards this week that I could have streamed, but I didn't. Um, I also want to explain that my streams are very community oriented. Like I want people to tune in and feel like they can participate. So I always have this form available in my description for people to submit whatever they want me to cover. You just have to fill out this form. But going a bit into more of personal updates, I do want to say that I'm definitely upgrading the live streams. So I got a new camera. It's just the camera is so good that it literally like gets all the angles in my room. And it's in 4K, and outside of the frame that I have right now, my room is really messy. It's super, super messy. And I usually put this blue blanket over my bed because there's like stuff there that I haven't gotten to. And like every week, I just haven't gotten to a couple things because I just like put my projects on my bed and then move them at night. But I usually move them to my desk, and I'm streaming on my desk, so I can't put them on my desk when I'm streaming. So, yeah, I do need to clean the room so I can use my new 4K camera, and that was a whole issue too. I don't know if I'm having a series of bad luck or like if the universe is against me, but things are just so complicated right now. I first initially ordered my 4K camera on Amazon in the beginning of December, and then they sent me a $16 lens. Surprisingly quickly, like 5 days later, it arrived, and I was like, wow, that was really quick. Turns out they sent me the wrong thing, and then they were just trying to make me accept the item and then just give me $30 in a refund. But why would I accept the lens that I don't need and I don't want and then just $30 in a refund? So I was like, no, that's not a deal, because I literally spent $200 on the 4K webcam, which is a lot of money for a camera, but I'm literally going to use it for the rest of the time that I stream, which is for years. So it was a huge investment. I felt like someone literally slapped me in the face when they just offered me a $16 lens and a $30 refund if I was to keep the lens too. And I was like, no, I want my $200. Like, I spent months saving $200, and I really need my webcam. So I returned the item and then waited for my full refund, and gratefully they did give it back to me. And then I reordered the 4K camera, and now I have it. It came like this weekend, last Friday. Oh my god, I'm getting sicker. I can't even talk. I haven't really talked the whole week except for work, and yeah, I sound horrible, which I'll get into too, because I've experienced more racial microaggressions because I don't sound like a typical white girl at work. I'll get into that. But to finish the camera tangent, so now I have my 4K webcam that I'll be streaming on. So I'll be streaming more. I'll be streaming quite a bit more. I think one of the biggest paradoxes that I've had in streaming is wondering how I fit into it, because I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. But I don't have the skills to be a YouTuber. I don't have the innate sense to be a YouTuber either, because it's not comfortable, and I don't know really what would be an interesting video. I don't have a sense for it. Everything else in my life I've always had a natural sense for, except for YouTube. And the reason I'm so passionate about YouTube is because I can't figure it out. I love things I can't figure out. And so I've been trying to do YouTube for years and years and years, and a lot of people say, like, you just have to practice, you have to skill up, you have to follow trends and algorithmic things and just keep going. But I don't even like the videos that I'm making, so I just don't know how to make the videos I want to make. It's like when you want to ask a question but you don't know what the question is. So I'll keep working on it, but I did start off December doing Vlogmas. I have since quit Vlogmas. I only got into six days or something like that. I went up to Vlogmas day 5. Yeah, Vlogmas day 5. Until I got sick. I just could not think straight. My energy tanked. And I couldn't talk. So I had to quit Vlogmas. Unfortunately, if I hadn't gotten sick, I most likely would have continued or had that stamina and the little energy I had left. But even now you can tell, like, I'm struggling to, like, talk. My voice is shaky. Like, I'm exerting myself a lot just talking. So imagine the mental, like, stamina it takes to try to figure out YouTube when it's, like, the most complicated thing for me. But it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I really wanted to do Vlogmas. I thought it was really fun. I'll still continue to upload videos. Most likely I'll upload every Sunday, like I promised to. There's a couple things that I have ideas for, and yeah, that will be my main focus, just uploading every Sunday. But I will want to stream more often, especially because I've invested so much money on that webcam. But yeah, I hope to come back next year with Vlogmas a bit more secure and under my belt. But it's also really difficult to do Vlogmas when you have 2 jobs and a lot of different responsibilities you have to carry. I'm also actively applying to different jobs so I can have a better work-life balance. I'm trying to fix the audio here because I am a bit loud and I think it's not helping the mic. Let me push it back. Okay, there you go. This mic is so weird. I have a mic that is really cheap, and sometimes it's really delicate and doesn't want to pick anything up, and then sometimes it just, like, picks up everything. So if it's a bit lower, I just lowered my mic so it doesn't sound like I'm screaming. But yeah, hopefully next year I have a bit more resources and time, because I was really working like 60, 70 hours a week when I was doing Vlogmas, because, for example, on Monday, I go to work from 12 to 6. So if I want to do Vlogmas, I have to get up early to film in the morning, and then film more during in the evening. And then if I want to edit, then I would be editing for hours in the night. And then Tuesday from 8 to 3, I would be... Why is there notifications about games? No, I don't want games. And then from 8 to 3, I would be working at a gym as a gym receptionist. And that is stressful because of the boomers. And then to film, I would have to do that afterwards. And then to edit, it would be all evening. And yeah, that just took up a lot of my time and energy. So hopefully in the future, I have a bit more stable schedule that's more conducive to content creation. But I also have been dealing a lot with microaggressions at work, just to close off this personal update section. It's really difficult to be sick in a white dominated space where boomers navigate the area. So in the gym that I am working at, it's a bunch of old people, a bunch of old boomers that were privileged enough to have all the social niceties in their youth. They had cheap school, they had more opportunities for jobs, they were able to buy homes, they had most likely savings because they come from generational cycles of wealth, where their parents helped them out with stipends of money or networks or connections, whatever it may be. Like, a lot of times people with a lot of generations of families here have a bit more stability because they know people, they know that they have savings that they can tap into from that relative or that uncle. I even had a friend who was Caucasian that looked forward to the death of his grandma or his great uncle because that meant he could get money from it, which is crazy to think about. It was so offensive. I never spoke to him again. It's like you're wishing the death of someone because you know they have a will and you needed money for college. That was like the level of like weird that I encountered in some people. Not saying that everyone is like that, but it just showcases a small example that others rely on the wealth of their ancestors, their family, to get through hard times. And this same person actually got an apartment funded by his mom because his dad had a really good corporate job, and the dad just funneled all the money to his wife, which was his mom, and the mom handled the finances. But this is a really good apartment. Like, it was a maybe $2,000 apartment in a really fancy area near Chicago, and he was like 19. But yeah, I've experienced a lot of like retaliation for my obviously monotone voice. Like, usually I can hide it, I can like pitch it a bit upwards, but I can't hide it when I'm literally sick. Like, I barely can talk. Like, I'm struggling to talk. Like, I don't want to sound like this. I sound congested and nasally and like literally sick. I look sick, I feel sick, I am sick. And people get bothered by the tone of my voice and they start saying random comments. And then they're asking me if I'm French. I'm not French. Like, why would you ask me if I'm French if I sound sick? Maybe it's because of the nasal effect. But anyways, I think that's a bit of enough of rants for me. But other than that, I will be streaming more. I can't. Wait. Oh my gosh. Really, it literally coughed so bad. But I will be streaming more. It's just I have to um recover and then I'll continue to stream. But I do want to get into the news that I have. I always like to say that these streams are not to be super preachy or to be like an expert in anything. I simply just love fashion. I love talking about it. I love exploring the nuance of it. I don't see myself as an expert, and I'll never say I'm an expert. A lot of people in my past have told me, "What's wrong with you if you don't think you're an expert?" I just simply don't want to be considered an expert. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm not someone that you should completely just take my words blindly for and think it's like the final say. Like, I love to just think about these issues, consider the ethics, consider the implications, and just keep learning. Um, but yeah, I think this is really fun to just talk about. It's not that serious. It really isn't. But Stella McCartney, I don't know what she's up to, but she recently collaborated with H&M, which felt like a surprising move when she's been doing a lot of efforts to be the new sustainable like luxury it brand. But now they've decided to do a collaboration in honor of their past 2005 collaboration. And yeah, they're gonna have this collection come out, which is very interesting. This Vogue article got gatekeeped under a paywall, which wasn't under a paywall the last time I read it. So let me see if I can find this not behind a paywall. I can find it somewhere else. Is Marie Claire under a paywall? Okay, no, it's not. Okay, so it says the Fashion Awards is one of the most exciting nights in British fashion industry, and that is where they announced that Stella McCartney is collaborating with H&M. They explained that London is Stella's home city and is a perfect place to give people a first glimpse of what's to come in the Stella McCartney H&M collection. Stella's designs have changed the course of fashion history. They've championed sustainable practices. Long before that conversation became mainstream, her work is always joyful, playful, and energetic. And so they're going to have to wait until spring 2026 for the full collection. It will supposedly have her signature style. I wonder what her signature styles are. This is Stella McCartney and H&M. I do think these are going to be a bit more pricey than the ones that we typically see in H&M, just because it is a collaboration between a luxury sustainable fashion brand and H&M, who is a struggling fast fashion company. And I do think this collaboration came because the early 2000 trends are coming back, so they're trying to capitalize on a trend. This is another piece. It is very sparkly. It has a weird belt. It doesn't really match, but I guess they weren't worried about it matching. Anita and Stella McCartney. This one looks kind of cheap. This doesn't look that it fit that well. They look like normal dresses. I don't see anything real special about them. Here's another one. But yeah, I definitely do think this gives early 2000s vibes. I think it was just an honor of like the trend and not necessarily anything else. Where's her hand? Her hand is missing. Interesting. Let's see if we can find anything else, because I wonder where this came from. I wonder if H&M was like, hey Stella, have you heard of the Y2K trend? Do you want to capitalize? Let's see what else. Supposedly this is like the OG style. Okay, alright. Alright. I've seen this model everywhere. She does not age. I feel like she's a little vampire. Or she has a really good skincare routine that I don't know of. Alright. Well, I'm really disappointed on the news because I wanted to be a fan of Stella McCartney, and to see her collaborate with H&M felt really offensive, not gonna lie to you. And there isn't a lot of context behind this. This is H&M's press page, basically the public-facing document that they have for the world to see, but I don't really find it impressive that they announce this collaboration in the fashion awards. Like, I think it's just more insidious and more of a, well, we're trying to legitimize this because we are an actual like fashion place and we use models to showcase our pieces. But I don't think that brings more legitimization to something odd like this. And also, I thought literally this was their first collaboration, but it's not. Like I said, it's their second one. They had their first one back in 2025, so it's literally the celebration of their 20th year after first working together. And I think it's just really appalling. Like, it's just really bad what they're doing. I don't think we need a joint collection. I hope everyone else agrees that we don't need more collections. But the fashion industry unfortunately relies on the endless production and consumption of clothing. So in spring 2026, do you really see ourselves wearing this? Probably not. I think the demographic would be budget friendly, millennials that want to have a feel for sustainable luxury or want to test it out somehow, but it just seems like an odd mixture of fast fashion and sustainability, to be honest. But they said that it was a good thing. Stella said that they're going to try to put more sustainability into H&M. They're trying to tap into archival designs, so basically old designs that they've done before, but now in a new frame, new time. That it's going to reach the industry and give an example of like what a sustainable collaboration can look like. But honestly, like H&M is kind of lagging behind. It's still fast fashion, but it's been lagging behind. It's typically a brand that we have seen in the mall. We have maybe bought from them when we were growing up, or maybe recently when we couldn't find anything else in the thrift store or in other shops. And honestly, I feel like the H&M brand is part of the American culture, and in a lot of different cultures. I've seen H&M in a lot of different countries. So it's a very standard part of culture. Like, you just go to H&M, which is not something I want to admit or really be honest about, but it just is. And then when you think about Stella McCartney, you kind of think about McCartney more than anything else. You think of the last name because of Paul McCartney, who was a notorious famous musician, so I feel like Stella McCartney in her own way is trying to get into mainstream culture in any way possible. So I think she recognizes that her luxury sustainable fashion presence can only go so far. There's a very niche clientele there. There's a very niche community there. And if you're going to be buying from the H&M and Stella McCartney collection, I do believe that you're not necessarily super immersed in the sustainable fashion field, and really just appreciate that at least there is some sustainable part there, but you will care more about the design than anything else. And then you'll learn about Stella, and then you'll learn about, oh, okay, there's different ways of going about this. So this is not for like the ultimate sustainable baddie. I think this is for people that are barely entering the world of sustainability and who care about celebrities, they care about awards, they care about the typical fashion industry, which is just like what you look like is what matters the most. Yeah, and I think Stella will do a lot of good financially through this. Like, it will be a way for her to make money and to reach new spaces that she's never reached before. But honestly, I think fast fashion and sustainable fashion brands can do better. Like, I always say that we can always try to figure things out a bit better. And what I mean by that is, where can we actually make change that's the most impactful? Do we really need another collection? I will always say this. No, 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 no. But it's usually the easiest thing to do. But I just really wish that Stella McCartney could have gone and done a bit more stronger partnerships with the government, the local government, for example, to ensure that garment workers in the UK are paid a fair wage, because not even garment workers in the UK are paid a fair wage. There's sweatshops literally in the UK. And for H&M, like, if they actually really wanted to do good, their entire brand could be sustainable. I think they have enough money to start shifting to sustainability. Are they going to? I don't think so, because they rely on cheap labor. I need to put my American accent on. Cheap labor and cheap materials to make their collection. But yeah, I do think that they know what it takes to make a sustainable collection, a sustainable brand. It's just they don't want to. And if they actually did try to make their whole brand sustainable, like, they would make excuses of like why they hadn't done it before and why it's so difficult. But I think it's actually really easy to care and to do the right thing. It's just you have to invest in it. You have to take the risk in doing it. But this collection also just showcases too, like, they're complacent. They're not really going to change on a holistic level. It's just really easy to do like one-time collaborations, It's easy to work with like the it girl in sustainable fashion right now, and make a couple dresses with quote unquote responsible materials. And I do want to know more about these responsible materials that they want to use or are using. And they didn't drop any details of like how many pieces would be made for each item or each, look. They didn't explain like if they're paying their workers a fair wage. They didn't explain like who made the responsible materials and like how they ensured it was quote unquote responsible or sustainable. Like there's so many questions still here that on the surface it may be easy to be like, oh my gosh, these dresses are super pretty, so let me like believe this. But we always have to just ask a lot of questions to really understand like what's going on. If they don't detail the process, the supply chain, the issues, or like the way they're gonna make these things, then we definitely have to be cautious. But I guess one of the perks that they've mentioned too of this collaboration is their Insights Board, which is basically a new initiative to inspire industry-wide conversations about the supply chain reform and material innovations and more collective responsibility, which are all things that I said is needed, and I think they recognize that's needed. But what they're doing is just hosting conversations about it. They're just talking about it. But do we need more fashion leaders to talk about change? I think they can actually make the change. I don't really see why we all want to talk and talk and talk and not do anything, But one of the things that they explain, though, of why they're doing this is because they believe that infiltrating the system from within is strategic, and if they don't try to win the people over within the system, then nothing is going to change. That's basically what Stella McCartney said. But I think that just kind of means complacency in a lot of ways, because if people don't want to change, then how much are you going to actually change them and the internal system? Like sometimes you just have to really pressure people through laws and policies to care. And if it's been years where a brand hasn't done anything, then no internal strategy or conversation is really gonna do much. But I do believe that Stella McCartney has the hopes of changing the hearts of executives, so that therefore social responsibility officers can have a bit more responsibility or leadership to do something. And by corporate responsibility officers, it's like staff that are in charge of making these brands more responsible and sustainable. But if they don't have a lot of leadership, if they don't have a lot of say, then it's like, well, how much can they actually do? So it's not necessarily like associates of corporate social responsibility. It's more so like the leaders that should be changing. So I'm wondering like who they're actually hosting conversations with. If it's just the corporate social responsibility people, nothing is changing. They don't really have a lot of leadership to be like, we're going to change everything. They have to get a lot of approvals for their projects. So if they can get like the CEO to have a conversation with them, if they can have, the board have these conversations, then I think that can be really impactful. But other than that, then they're just kind of wasting their time. And sometimes, no, most of the times, a lot of brands love to promise things in verbal conversations, but if it's not written down and if there's no like plan to do it, then it's just like empty promises. It's almost like politics at this point. So hopefully these conversations, I'm an optimist, okay? Hopefully, if anything, these conversations can lead to written plans. But if you don't target the right person, you're wasting your time. So a lot of questions, a lot of things to see how it plays out. But very disappointed nonetheless. But I do want to move on and talk about what's happening in France with Shein. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about this. I feel like we now just ignore Shein. I feel like that's the general vibe, to be honest. But maybe I'm just 28 and young and don't see enough things on the internet or in life to understand what I'm looking at. But yeah, I personally haven't seen anything online talking about Shein or France. I feel like a lot of times, if you're an expert in sustainable fashion, you just kind of want to like talk about the wins or talk about easy topics, and this is not an easy topic. But let's see. I want to check the audio. Talking about Shein or France. I feel like a lot. Oh my god, I sound so sick. Who would listen to me? But I do want to talk about France. So, France is actually trying to get Shein out of their country. So, they've been trying a series of different strategies, and they were trying to suspend them for 3 months. So, to not be present in their online platform, especially because they were selling weird dolls and they were selling weird weapons. And so they've been going to court. So at the Paris court, a lawyer representing the state said that Shein must implement controls on its website, including age verification and filtering to ensure that minors cannot access weird content. And the state asked the court to impose a suspension of Shein's marketplace until Shein has provided proof to ARCOM, I don't know what that is, the French communications regulator, that these controls have been implemented. Shein deactivated its marketplace where third-party sellers offer their products in France on November 5th after authorities discovered illegal items for sale, but its site selling Shein branded clothing remains accessible. The state invoked Article 6.3 of France's Digital Economy Act, which empowers judges to order measures to prevent or halt the harm caused by online content. Ooh, okay, they're pulling out the laws. So the state's lawyer said, "We don't claim to be here to replace the European Commission." My voice. The lawyer said, "We're not here today to regulate. We are here to prevent harm. In the face of things that are unacceptable, at the time of the rating, the hearing is still ongoing." Alright, so in a statement issued last week, the Paris Public Prosecutor Office said that a 3-month suspension could be deemed disproportionate in light of European Court of Human Rights. Especially if Shein could prove that it had keysed all sales of illegal products. However, the public prosecutor's officer said it fully supported the government's request that Shein provide evidence of the measures taken to stop such sales. And their decision, France's decision, came after there was more scrutiny of Chinese giants such as Shein and Temu under the EU's Digital Service Act concerning consumer safety, the sale of illegal products, and unfair competition. Interesting. And the thing is, they did abandon like the total bid for total suspension. So the article title just kind of alludes that France gave up, but they're not giving up, fighting against Shein. It's more so trying to compromise given what they can do with the laws. And controlling a website is quite difficult, and they're proving it because the brand is fighting and pushing back, saying, well, we have taken down everything that's illegal. We're complying with laws. We're complying with this. We're complying with that. But yeah, it's good that there's going to be more verifications, more filtering, that they're removing the third-party sellers so they have more control over what's going on in their website. Deactivating the marketplace, I think, was huge. I think it's going to hurt Shein a lot. And if you don't know what the marketplace was, it's basically where other sellers that are not directly working under Shein, basically third-party people, sellers, can sell their products on their site. But yeah, that was found unlawful, which is good. So now hopefully there's going to be more safe consumer products on Shein's website. I think it's common sense things, you know. We would hope that a brand is selling safe items. But I do want to say that this moment where France is being so harsh on Shein, I think is an example of how hard they're trying to push them out. They're doing everything in their power to push them out, using any excuse, any ill practice, any like quote unquote bad moment to get them out. And I truly think that France is being very strategic, hence why they're abandoning unrealistic suspensions. Like I do believe that lawyers told the French government what you're asking for is unrealistic given that they're compromising. But France doesn't want them at all. They don't want any website, they don't want any product, they don't want any sale from this brand coming into their country. So they're trying to kill them in any way possible, metaphorically, you know. Not literally kill them. But yeah, I don't believe that them dropping the full legal bid will mean that they won't stop battling Shein. I think it's just gonna mean they're gonna go a different route. They're taking a different strategic path. So yeah, I wonder what France will do with their legal team, with their regulatory teams, especially if they're connected so heavily with the EU. I wonder like what economic tools they're going to be using to pressure Shein. But I do want to say that with the pressure that France is getting, I see Shein being more so a target for regulation going forward by other countries and by other places. And I do wonder if they're removing their marketplace because of France, does it mean their marketplace no longer exists in other countries? Or is it just no longer available in France? And all these things like really take an understanding of like laws and like internal legal battles that I'm not aware of. So this is kind of like a lot. And I feel like a lot of consumers are just confused what's happening because it's not an easy topic to understand. And it's just such a shame that not a lot of people are breaking this down and like contextualizing it and giving examples or making it more mainstream, because now I'm like, what are we even looking at? Like, what are we reading right now? But what I do know is that France will be taking a more strategic lens to like blocking the acceptance of low value parcels. So they want to charge for every small low value parcel that comes into their country as a way to punish Shein for doing business in their country, which is interesting. But this economic like strategy was most likely inspired by the US. They had the de minimis rule. I'm not sure if you remember that, but basically Donald Trump wanted to charge for every little package, every little thing bought wanted to be a little profit for him. So they definitely took an example of Donald Trump and were like, yeah, we should charge for every little parcel that's coming in. Yeah, we should definitely do that. But yeah, I do wonder where France is going after this, because Shein doesn't seem to want to stop. They have the new store up. They're pissed. So yeah, definitely gonna keep an eye out for how this advances. This was recent. This article was written a couple days ago. December 5th, yes. So it was a couple days ago. And I'm not sure if there's been more advances. So I'll definitely look into it. But just for the sake of time and for my voice, we're gonna go and look into this other ban for brands. So they're targeting Nike, Superdry, and Lacoste. And basically ads have been banned because of misleading green claims. So I wonder if there's any videos talking about this, because this should be a bit more mainstream given that it's major brands. I have seen people talk about this, fortunately enough. So let's see. I kind of hate it when I'm talking about something and I Google what I'm looking up. I can't even talk. I hate when I look something up that I'm looking for and my own live stream comes up. I don't even know. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Also, what is it with all these random YouTube channels covering random news? What is this? Why? There's no fashion news outlet. It's annoying. No one reads articles nowadays. No one does. Who actually reads articles? Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. What if we just do Nike? Nike ads banned over misleading claims. Let's see what happens. Whoa. Whoa. Me. Yeah, I show up again. Alright. Nothing is showing up. We'll just read the article. It's whatever. Alright, so by BBC, this article explains that advertisements from Nike, Superdry, and Lacoste have been banned for making misleading claims about their green credentials. So the UK's advertising watchdog challenged the brands over the use of the word sustainable and paid for Google ads which were not backed up by evidence for their sustainability. So the Advertising Standards Authority, also known as ASA, identified 3 adverts from the retailers promising customers sustainable materials, sustainable style, and sustainable clothing. So the UK's advertising codes state that the basis of claims about environmental sustainability must be clear and supported by a high level of substantiation. I'm not American enough to pronounce that. Substantiation? No. These are big words. In each case, it asks the companies for evidence to back up the claims about the sustainability of each product. So Nike said that their ads promoting tennis polo shirts with the tagline "Serve an Ace with Nike Sustainable Materials" was framed in general terms and highlighted the wider sustainability of its products. The trainer giant said its claim about sustainable materials was intended to highlight that the other products available on its site incorporated recycled materials. What are they talking about? They said that in their ad, they mentioned sustainable materials as a way to talk about other products. Now, that's a different level of gaslighting. Yeah, so our ad said something, but it was actually for this other thing, even though we showed this thing. What? But the ASA ruled Nike had failed to include qualifying details and had not explained the basis about the sustainability of its products. And then Superdry's advertisements that promoted a wardrobe that combines style and sustainability, which it argued customers would understand to mean its clothing were either stylish, sustainable, or both. What? So it's not style and sustainability. It's style or sustainability and sustainability. What are they on about? I'm too sick for this. How much are they paying their lawyers? Them lawyers be trying to find any loophole. And the retailers argued it did not suggest all Superdry products were sustainable. Guys, we didn't do this for every single thing, okay? What? But the ASA said its green claims were ambiguous and unclear and would lead customers to believe all Superdry products were sustainable. Well, yeah. Superdry has not provided evidence to demonstrate that their products had no detrimental effect on the environment, its ruling said. So Lacoste advert promoted its kids range, such as sustainable clothing, and told ASA it had worked for years to reduce the carbon footprint of its products. Interesting. So Lacoste was being like actually a bit more like quote unquote honest and being like, well, we've been working on it. But the watchdog said that while there had been a reduction in the environmental impact of the products in its kids range, it had not offered evidence that its clothing would have no detrimental effect on the environment. In each case, the advertisements were banned and the companies were warned future promotions must contain a high level of substantiation for any sustainability claims. So the 3 rulings were part of a wider crackdown by the ASA on a branch making misleading green blah blah blah. That sentence does not make sense. They've just been looking into it. So a Nike person said, "We have engaged with the UK Advertising Standards Authority on this matter and have taken the necessary required actions. We remain committed on providing customers with clear information to help them make the choices that are right for them." Superdry and Lacoste were asked to comment, and most of them not said anything because they did not respond. Interesting. So the great thing, though, from all this is that there are watchdogs. Okay? The article is very, very complicated, but from what I got is that there's watchdogs. And I think we're starting to get We're starting to get a lot clearer on what is and isn't greenwashing. Wow. That was a lot of ours. I'm not a fan though of Nike, Superdry, or Lacoste. I don't buy from them, and if I do buy, I buy secondhand or thrifted. So it doesn't personally affect me if these advertisements have misleading green claims. But what I do respect is that more people are caring that there's misleading green claims, because I don't want to see, and hopefully others agree, we don't want to see that Nike, Superdry, and Lacoste are making false claims and people are believing them. That would mean that people are making misinformed shopping decisions based on claims that are not backed up. So having their ads be banned is a great step towards moving to a more responsible industry and a more actually sustainable industry. I've been in the sustainable spaces for so long. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I've been talking so much and I'm sick. Sorry, guys. I feel like I'm just getting progressively worse as I go on into the news, but the point I'm trying to express right now is I do think that when I've been in sustainable fashion spaces, whether in organizing, whether in news organizations, or when I was writing blogs for others, it was always very hard to know what was the truth, because anyone can say anything on the internet. There can be reports with fake numbers or fake claims, and it's just really hard to know like what is real. And so when you add all these other elements of like brands publishing things and these ads say certain things, it just muddles like what is real and what is like fake. And even I, who should know better, have been misled. And so when we talk about sustainable, like the actual word, like what do we actually mean? Like when we talk about sustainable materials, like what does that constitute? When we're talking about sustainable style, what does that mean? Like there has been no set definition for any of these things. It's not in the dictionary. There's no regulatory body saying this is what this means and this is what that means. Like there's nothing. So it can be easy to interpret that on your own and say, this is the reality of sustainable materials. This is the reality of sustainable style. It's up to personal interpretation and biases, and that's how the sustainable fashion space has been operating. But it's very much tied to your own perspective, your own bias, your own ethics, your own theories. So hopefully these watchdogs don't get too lost in midst of the ambiguities of it all, but it seems like they have a good sense that you have to actually prove what you're saying is real. And that's how we know, like, what's sustainable and not sustainable. So yeah, I think if anything, this just serves as a warning that you can't just be saying stuff. You're not immune to scrutiny. You're not immune to vagueness. Like, if you're just going to make a random statement, like, where did you get that from? And I think we deserve more and better from these brands that are making millions. And also, one of the things that I noticed is that I feel like a lot of people thought it was safe to use the word sustainability. That it was okay to just say, oh, this is sustainable. But I think right now, we're going to see a lot more marketing officers. We're going to see advertisers be a bit more cautious and really trying to define what it means to promote circularity or sustainable materials or sustainable style, and really break it down and verify that they have the data to back it up. And I think it just reflects too that there's like more consumer concerns on sustainability in regulations. So with the public awareness coming from Nike and Superdry and Lacoste ads, I feel like we're gonna have a bit more of a realization that we can't just believe that brands are doing things ethically. Like, sometimes I feel like we just blindly trust these brands and we're like, oh yeah, they're doing the right thing, they're actually sustainable, but like we have to actually like wonder, like, what are they doing? So hopefully this brings a bit more cautiousness and awareness and like questions before you just like shop from the ad that you saw. But that's just my goal. But they started somewhere though. Like, the watchdogs started somewhere. They focused on paid Google ads. So I wonder if they are going to be a bit more ambitious and go elsewhere, or just focus on the Google ads that brands are doing. But I believe that Google ads are connected to like social media, right? It's Instagram, Facebook. What else? I think that's really it for social media. I don't know, the meta world. But yeah, I think digital marketing will be affected a lot with sustainability claims because of these watchdogs. And hopefully this scrutiny does come to the US, because right now this is just happening in the UK. But if there's like any key takeaways for like people watching, or like for anyone, it's really just to be skeptical. Like, don't go around believing anything and everything, because most of the times brands be lying just for a quick buck. Just for a quick buck. And look for specifics. Like, if they're saying this is sustainable material, where's the label at? Like, where's the certifications at, you know? But yeah, let's move on to the next thing. I do think I'm going to end early. I feel lightheaded. I think I'm going to move my my other live stream, because I had another live stream planned. And no one is watching. I know view counts don't matter, but like no one is watching. So I think I'm going to continue on for 12 more minutes. And then I think I'm going to do my next live stream tomorrow. Yes, I'm gonna do my next stream tomorrow. Hello says, hey fashion lady. Hello. I'm actually going to talk about this and then see if we shall jump off, because I do feel quite sickly. But I will be back tomorrow to rate the Streamer Awards fashion fits. There's the fashion. There was the fashion in the Streamer Awards that I love. Okay, so let's see. For the New York Fashion Week that is starting September 2026, there's going to be the ban of furs. So this is exciting, but it does follow the trend that I've seen in the past by other fashion weeks. Like Copenhagen Fashion Week has banned furs. But basically it just explains that they're going to prohibit the use of any animal furs in New York Fashion Week starting September 2026, and this policy will extend beyond the official schedule to all CFDA platforms, including the fashion calendar, social media channels, and its official website. And this was done in collaboration with the Humane World for Animals and Collective Fashion Justice. So yes, that is something that is going to be coming out. Now, I feel like it never hurts to be a morally good person. It's just, it will take practice to do so if you've never done so before. But to do the right thing can actually be really easy. I wonder why they specifically took so long to do the right thing. And I think it was just the easiest time to do this, because I've seen this become a trend, sadly. Most people are not using fur. So for them to ban fur, I feel like was just following what everyone else was doing. And I do think it helps them pivot as more relatable, as part of like what society wants. But if no one is using fur and you ban fur, then at the end of the day, you're really not making a lot of change. But kudos for them. Still, I'll give them their kudos, because kudos, they're awards, they're applause. I don't know. They're thanks for doing this, but it's really not going to change everything that's happening in the industry. Like, I do wish they had more of an extensive philosophy or like plan on like reducing animal cruelty. But one thing I really am grateful for, and I will highlight, is that they made the indigenous exception. Like, they were able to recognize cultural sovereignty. They were able to distinguish between commercial fur farming and traditional practices. So I'm glad they didn't do any cultural erasure through this move. So I do wonder like what else they're thinking of as they move forward for New York Fashion Week. So if they can start banning fur, can they start banning unethical practices or unsustainable materials? But yeah, I think this is just like the starting point. It's like opening the door, basically. It's low hanging fruit. They just kind of grab because everyone else is grabbing. And fur is not something we typically want to go around wearing. When was the last time you wore a fur coat that was actually like real, you know? Most consumers right now don't even have money for groceries. But yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to cover. I do want to see if there's anyone talking about it online. And then from there, I think I'm going to close out the live stream. I can't even talk. I'm going to close the video, guys. Sounded like a boomer. The videos can be closed right now. See, what is this? Why do they keep doing this? They make YouTube videos about news, but it's not an actual video, and there's no views on it. Oh my god. What is this one? Okay, someone covered it.
So I just saw this article about how New York Fashion Week is banning fur on its runway in 2026, which I'm totally for. I absolutely love the idea of reducing the number of animals harmed in fashion. However, I really wish they would also focus on ethical production. There have been so many brands, even luxury brands that I won't name, who have been in the news for really poor, unethical production practices. Whether they produce the majority of their goods in China and finish them in Italy and say made in Italy, or they use super, super cheap labor within Italy, not even legal labor, to create $2,500 bags. I love the idea of supporting animals. Keep doing what you're doing. I just wish that New York Fashion Week would also say, let's stop harming humans in our manufacturing practices as well. Because in my mind, humans come first. So I just saw.
That's interesting. Humans come first. Well, that's a very interesting take. I would say that I think that animals and humans have the same value. But that's a contentious take. But yeah, to each their own. But I don't necessarily agree that humans should come first. And it wasn't even about that in the first place. Like, I think it was more so like they want animal cruelty to be reduced within the fashion industry. It's not necessarily like trying to prioritize animals over humans. It's just, it was part of an issue in the industry that needed to be addressed and fixed. But I do think animals need care and need protections. It's just, if we prioritize humans over animals, there's never going to be any change. Like, historically, we've prioritized ourselves and our own interests. Like, let the animals have a win. But for the most part, I did agree with what she said, but ethical practices and fair wage does come with a lot of regulations and policies, and sometimes that's something you have to work for years and years and years. So I think the banning of the fur was a quick win, if anything. It was just a quick win on their own part. All right. A relatively new content creator, but very interesting
So I
take.
just saw this article about how New York Fashion Week is banning fur on its runway in 2020.
Okay, so let's see if there's anything else. I needed to exit just because she kept talking and I couldn't mute her. I don't need the lady to keep talking, to be honest. Alright. Why is Markiplier crying? Oh, he had a film. He released his film. Alright, alright, alright. Who else was talking about this? Let's see. Oh my gosh, I have to do the 2026 fashion ins and outs. Oh my gosh, I have to do this. I have to do this sort of video.
I feel like every time I go out now, I see people.
Interesting. Niche things that make you instantly stylish? Oh. What are people wearing in New York City? You know, it'd be so much fun to do this for Chicago. What are people wearing in Chicago? Or like in suburbs? Interesting. Most of his videos are that. What are people wearing in New York City? I'm just over here full on stalking his account. Okay, well, I thought he was talking about fur, but he wasn't, so I'm gonna move on. Alright, so I think I'm gonna end it here. There was a couple more news bits that I wanted to cover, but I feel like my brain is self-combusting. But we shall talk about the other things in the next videos. Oh, okay. This is before I go. This is the last thing. Why was the color of the year white? Why? There's so many different options. This pisses me off. Why was it white? Oh. I'm such a maximalist. I love colors. So this just didn't make any sense to me. What? They were explaining it that the cloud dancer feels like the kind of color the world is craving right now. And design white is never just white. It carries intention, says Lauren Lerner of Living with Lolo. What the hell is that? A reminder that neutrality is often more expressive than it appears. Yes, because neutrality is really needed in a time of contentious politics. Let the white people be neutral. Yes, sir, let them have their neutrals. But for me, I do not want neutrals. I do not want to be neutral. I literally am at the forefront of so many social issues. I do not want to be neutral right now. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't want to be neutral. I don't want to be white. I don't want to dress in white. I don't want to embody blankness. I don't want to embody this idea of blankness or quiet luxury. Like, that's not. We're living in a recession. I think this is the exact opposite of what we're in. No one is in the dream state right now. No one is in a clean atmosphere. No one is living in perfection. Like, we're all in the ground, running and struggling. This, I think, speaks to like the 1% sort of eliteness, the aspiration of being in the clouds, doing nothing, opening up your arms to the idea of what, like privilege? Like, I don't know what else this would mean. Um, but kudos for the Pantone team for once again being out of touch. There's a history of them being out of touch, to be honest. I may make a little video or cover it in the next live stream, but that's just really disappointing. Really disappointing to say the least. But everyone has been adopting the green moss color. Everyone on social media, I've seen a lot of TikToks on this, but everyone is adopting green moss for some reason. But let me pull it up. This is the last thing I'll show, and then I'll move on out of here. Every time I pull up TikTok, it's just Pokemon. Let's see, Pantone white. That shall be enough. Let's have a person of diversity touch on this. Let's see.
I think I died in an accident, cause this must be heaven. I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly.
She's not mad about it. Interesting. Let's see, what does she have to
Pantone
say?
just dropped the color of the year, and it's white. I mean, Cloud Dancer. It's Cloud Dancer, guys. But seriously, the internet is already arguing about it, so let's get into the racist history of color, or lack thereof. Pantone says that Cloud Dancer represents calm and peace in a noisy world. And while on the surface that sounds nice, we're going to go deeper because the fear of color in the Western world is not new. It's actually rooted in racism and sexism per usual. Years ago, Alok made a post about the book Chromophobia by David Batchelor, and it dissects how in Eurocentric Western culture, there has always been this obsession with renouncing color, treating color as primitive, chaotic, wild, and linking color to otherness, specifically to Black and brown cultures and women, while neutrals such as white are seen as elevated, refined, and luxe. And this is everywhere. Think millennial gray apartment trends, think Kim Kardashian's all-white mansion. White is seen as wealthy, minimalist, and sophisticated. Meanwhile, color, print, and texture, everything that actually expresses culture, gets labeled as excessive, tacky, loud, or just too much. There's a toxic Gerda quote that sums this up. Gerda wrote, "Savage nations, uneducated people, and children have great predilection for vivid colors. People of refinement avoid vivid colors." So basically, color equals primitive, white equals civilized.
What a racist motherfreaker. Why would he say that? He was wearing a black coat, too. Bruh.
Belief is shaping Western aesthetics to this day. There are so many beautiful communities that have kept color as their identity despite this. The LGBTQ plus community, the flag is literally a rainbow. Color becomes an act of resistance against erasure and conformity. The Goths, the extreme opposite. Embracing all Black everything is a rebellion. Both are responses to this. But colorful cultural resistance is not always possible. I think of this picture of an indigenous child before and after reform school. Before, long hair, cultural garb, color, jewelry, prints. After, short hair, stiff neutral clothing. His colorful cultural clothes are violently stripped away to make him appear civilized. And of course, gender comes into this too. Feminine culture has always been linked with vibrant, colorful fashion, but Western society labeled that as vain, shallow, and unserious, because anything feminine coded has historically been dismissed and infantilized. So no, it's not an accident that the color of the year is white, not with everything happening socially, politically, and economically. White being positioned as the calm and peace we need in the world is a very tone-deaf and privileged framing considering what's going on. Personally, my style has been at its best when I dismantle. dismantled this. I used to be a neutrals girl to pure chic and be taken seriously. But when I started really embracing color, my style popped off. And that reflected in my work as a designer too. My upcoming OVA collection is colorful, expressive, fun, and my best work yet. Also, I'm not saying neutrals are bad. This is an examination from a macro lens. Like Kamala Harris said, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? No. We live inside systems that shape us, even down to the colors we wear. Bye. Pantone just dropped.
I don't have a lot of nice things to say about the color white. I think I suffered a lot from Caucasian millennial women in Montana who loved the color white. And I have a theory that I got kicked out of my apartment because I put up a Mexican flag in front of my room. I can go on a whole tangent on this, but the first time that I was living in Montana, I decided to put a Mexican flag outside of my room, but technically it's my space, it's my little area to enter. And I was like, oh, let me put some color. And I put up the flag, and next thing I know, they're like, yeah, we're not renewing your lease. The landlord lived across from us, and she could see it in her window, and I don't think she liked it. But the stereotypical aesthetic, for context, was nothing. It was neutrals. It was gray carpets. It was bland blankets. It was bland, like, Target items. If you like that, that's on you. I just don't like it. I'm a maximalist. I can show you my Pinterest board, and that will give context of, like, my aesthetic, but when you live in a different state with cultural norms that are not like yours, it stands out way too much, and people don't want you. They quite literally reject you. Let me see. Where can I find this? Oh, it's in home fashions. Let's see. So this is my Pinterest. Let's see. Home fashions. Where is it? Home fashion. I think it's this one. Okay, so this is what my dream house would look like. A lot of colors, a lot of green, a lot of antiques. Very beautiful. It's very artistic. So this is literally what I would want in my house. And this is what I was trying to replicate in Montana. And as you can tell, there's not a lot of neutrals in here. There's the white backdrop. But I don't really wanted neutrals. I don't know how to describe the style, but it'd be very eclectic, very quirky, very unique, little details everywhere. Like, these spoons are so cute. But yes, that's really what I would aspire to do in my house. And so when you have the trend of neutrality, it, like, limits you so much. And I get it, like, have a good basic top, have a good jacket, you know, but, like, at the end of the day, like, we should express ourselves uniquely and expressively. And if minimalism and neutrality is not your vibe, it's just not your vibe. And if you villainize color, then you're kind of racist. But yes, this is beautiful. I want my dream house so bad. Like, isn't that gorgeous? All the plants, all the greenery, the pinks, the greens, the florals, the decorations. It just keeps going. Anyways, that's what my dream life would be. My dream home. So the color white being like the color of the year, me and that would not fit in. I would not fit into that clique. Oh my god, these candles are so cool. It just keeps going. I want this one so bad. I want to learn how to play bass. Okay. Well, that's a really it for me. That's all I wanted to talk about. At this point, I'm just scrolling through my Pinterest. But hopefully you like this live stream. I am really sick, so I will be back most likely maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I can't really promise much right now because I am really sick. I can't express myself or think clearly like I usually do. So thanks for watching if you've watched on a Friday morning. And yes, I'll see you in the next live stream. Bye. Not don't look at my stuff. Bye.